Okay, good morning and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Ottawa under the Planning Act. This video conference is also live streaming on YouTube. With me are my fellow panel members, Stephen Lewis, Terrence Otto, and Martin Vervoort. My name is Fabien Poulin. I will be chairing this hearing today. The procedure for this hearing will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with agenda items in a different order. Committee members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support or in opposition to each of the applications. Today, we'll hear oral submissions from any interested party. Notice regarding minor variance application, notwithstanding pre-consultation with city staff, it is the responsibility of the applicant to identify all required variances accurately on the application to 1, add a new variance, or 2, increase the extent of a variance requested. It must be given in accordance with the Planning Act and may require the application to be recirculated for the next hearing date at a cost to the applicant at the prescribed fee. If an applicant amends their plans with no impact to the variances or to reduce the variances requested, recirculation may not be required. Appealing a decision of the committee, these decisions of the Committee of Adjustment may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a fee within 20 days of the date of the written decision. Only the applicant, the minister on the or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the matter may appeal the decision. A specified person does not include an individual or community association. As part of the statutory notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. This declaration must be on file today before we can hear the application. Without it, I may have to adjourn the application or administer an oath if necessary. Can the coordinator confirm that we have received all statutory declarations?
No, Mr. Chair, we haven't received any. We'll need the oath read for all items.
Thank you very much, Madam Coordinator. The committee may ask for a brief presentation of the application, followed by questions from members and submissions from the public. Please address your comments to the chair, starting with your name and spelling it if necessary, and your municipal address. The committee limits presentations to 5 minutes. Any exceptions would be at the chair's discretion. Before we begin, we have 2 items of business to address. Does any member present need to declare any interest in any of the applications that are before us today or that are on the agenda of another committee panel? There are no declarations of interest. We also have to adopt the minutes of February 1st and February 15. I'd like to ask the panel for approval of these minutes. All in favor of approval of the February 1st and February 15 minutes, please raise your hands. These minutes are approved. We will now hear the application schedule for this hearing, and we'll first deal with items that may be adjourned. I believe we have several requests for adjournment, and I'll start with application number 2. Application number 2 has to do with 1980 Phelan Road. Mr. McGill, are you available? I see a Tess Gilchrist.
My apologies, as I went from attendee to panelist, I missed some of the introduction there. Apologies. Is it
okay? Are you representing 1980 Strathmere? Phelan Road?
Yes, that's correct. So I am a professional land use planner, and I'm working with Mary and Mike McGill, who are the owners of the property.
Okay.
And I'm here. I think, do you hear me now? It's Mary McGill from
Good morning, Mary.
Hi, sorry.
That's
Can
okay.
you see me or just hear me?
Miss Gilchrist, would you mind just explaining who you are so that we can have that on the record, please?
Certainly. So my name is Tess Gilchrist. I am a professional land use planner with Arcadis IBI Group, and I've been retained by the owners to work with them on this application.
Okay, thank you. Now, I understand that the planning department is looking for an adjournment to this. Do you agree to this adjournment?
Ultimately, Mr. Chair, we believe that the application as filed did respond to staff concerns that were raised through pre-consultation and some initial discussions with staff, and we'd like to proceed. However, if staff needs more time to review the application package and the materials that were submitted in support of it, we would be prepared to meet with staff to further discuss the application if we could then come back to committee in April.
Okay, I'd like to ask the planning department for their comments with respect to this adjournment request.
Good morning. Through you, Mr. Chair, the planning department has an opportunity to read through the complete application submission. And right now, our concern is that there's insufficient discussion on the official plan and the provincial policies around creating a new farm holding. As we know, agricultural lands are highly protected under the province and was looking for additional discussion. For example, just demonstrating that the lots that are being proposed are of a similar size to what's common in agriculture in this area, not just the immediate surrounding parcels, but for the full area and the farming community for this parcel. An analysis that what is being proposed is sufficiently sized to accommodate long-term changes and flexibility in agricultural practices, noting that the official plan says a minimum of 36 hectares. So we're just looking for additional rationale and discussion that demonstrates that these policies have been satisfied.
Okay, Ms. Gilchrist, any comments?
I feel that our submission did provide content with respect to PPS and official plan policy justification, including demonstrating the type of agricultural uses that are typical for the area, the sizes of the parcels, some preliminary review of MDS, though I think a significant development for this property is the updated floodplain mapping that RVCA is working through right now, which places a significant constraint on the parcel with respect to the types of uses that would be realistic for the future. And really the situation is the existing Strathmere business is going to continue. It's permitted by zoning and nothing's changing there. But the new farm holding, which is zoned agricultural, meets the minimums for size, but also frontage, as well as safe access.
Okay, Ms. Gilchrist, would you like to proceed today?
I think that we certainly are prepared to, through you, Mr. Chair, if you and the panel are willing to proceed, we'd be happy to.
Okay. I'd like to ask the members for their comments. Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, I'm looked over the application. I really don't have a problem with the application as it's presented. I'm ready to proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Vervoort.
I'm ready to proceed. If the applicant wants to put it over to the next meeting to have further discussions with planning, I'm fine with that as well. I think it's the applicant's decision at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Otto.
Same as Mr. Vervoort.
Thank you.
If the applicant wants to go ahead, let's go ahead and deal with it. If they'd like another week or two to discuss, then I'm fine with that as well.
Thank you. So Ms. Gilchrist, it's up to you. What would you like to do?
I guess through you, Mr. Chair, my question would be, is there room on the next agenda of April 5th that we could adjourn to the next hearing and give us the 3 weeks to review with staff?
I believe there is. Madam Coordinator, is there room on the next agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is room.
Perfect. So we can adjourn it for 2 more weeks if you like, or actually it's 3 weeks, but.
Certainly, yes,
Okay.
we'd like to proceed with that and set up a call with Mr. Harrigan and review these, just to review the content a bit further.
Okay, Mr. Harrigan, you agree with that? Next meeting, first meeting in April?
Yep. But through you, Mr. Chair, we are agreeable to that. We would just note that we would need an updated planning rationale within the next week. Week and a half would be pushing it a little bit. So just we have enough time to thoroughly analyze the updated comments. But if the applicant's willing to get working on it right away, I don't believe 3-week adjournment would be an issue.
Okay. Ms. Gilchrist, can you get that to him?
I'm not sure that I agree that a further justification is required. I think it probably is perhaps a difference of opinion that a discussion could address.
Okay. It's up to you. So we'll adjourn this. I'll ask the panel to adjourn this application to the first hearing in April. All those in favor, please raise your hands. We're adjourned till the first hearing in April. Thank you, Ms. Gilchrist.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now on to number three, application number three. This has to do with 160 Lloyd Alex. Mr. Thompson, are you available?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I think this also relates to number 4 as well.
It's 160 and 164 Lloyd Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Adam Thompson for the applicants, representing both applicants on the 2 separate applications.
Okay. Are you interested in an adjournment, sine die?
Yes. After reading the staff comments, there's obviously some official plan policies that we need to take a look at. Sine die would be acceptable for these applications.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Teef, on behalf of the city, do you want to comment?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, we just had some concerns as the subject properties are within the future neighborhood overlay of the official plan. And under the official plan, a future neighborhood overlay requires a secondary plan for development to proceed. And the property that would be receiving lands at 2090 Carp Road is subject to an area-specific policy, policy number 34, which also requires a plan of subdivision. So there's a lot going on, but we'd be agreeable to an adjournment.
Perfect, thank you. Now I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this to adjourn this applications numbers 3 and 4 on sine die. All those in favor, please raise your hands. You are adjourned until sine die, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Now we're moving on to applications 5, 6, and 7. This has to do with properties on Dobson Lane, yes.
That's also me, Mr.
That's
Chair.
you. Okay, perfect.
We don't have to go anywhere.
Okay. You'd like to adjourn this application until April 19th?
April 19th, please. We are still working on refining the EIS, and we'll be circulating that to staff shortly.
I just want to note that this has been adjourned January 11th for the same reason, and January 15th or February 15th for the same reason.
Appreciate that. Yeah, so it's been well. We've also had some back and forth with staff and residents as well. So there's been a fair amount of work going on in the background on this.
Okay. I'd like to ask Planning Department for their comments.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, just before I comment, I just want to mention the adjournment. The second adjournment request was at the Planning Department's request, just because we didn't have time to meet with the applicant before the hearing due to scheduling conflicts. So that was why I was adjourned a second time.
Okay.
The Planning Department's position, if this is going to be adjourned, is that it should be adjourned sine die. We have significant concerns with expansion of a village settlement area, road openings into a natural systems core area. The policy team, the natural environment team, and the environmental planners have all reviewed this and have significant concerns with this. Any application with this would be premature at this point. So our position would be to adjourn at sine die. That would be the department's position.
Thank you, Mr. Harrigan. Comments, Mr. Thomason?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. The concern, one of the concerns with adjourning this application, sine die, is one of the discussions we've been having with city staff is over the clergy principle and which official plan this application should be heard under. And the concern, I think, that is if we do go sine die, that would impact which official plan would be which official plan would be applicable to these applications.
So does that mean that you need to have more time? The sine die would probably be more appropriate then.
The concern that I'd have with sine die is whether or not the new official plan would then take precedence over the applications. But there's some disagreement with city staff on that matter.
Okay. Mr. Harrigan?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the applications were deemed complete, a deemed complete submission after the minister's approval. As per our legal department and every other Planning Act application that the city works on, it would be reviewed under the new official plan. So adjournment sine die has no change in which official plan is reviewed under, as per the deemed complete date. So that is directly from our legal services who have confirmed that.
Okay. Do you agree with having it adjourned sine die then, until this work can be done? Mr. Harrigan?
Sine die, yes. Our position, our official position is to object to the applications, but if the applicant would like to adjourn them, we would recommend sine die.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to ask the panel for their comments. Mr. Vervoort?
Well, it seems to me it's up to the applicant if he wants to proceed. I think they've asked for April the 19th. I'm not sure that's quite enough time. I might suggest May the 5th if they want to adjourn it to a set date, but I think we'd want to be ready to go at that point. And I believe if there is a revised EIS being submitted, it should probably be into the planning department by the first week of April, so they'd have time to review it. But I think ultimately it's up to the applicant. I'm fine adjourning it to a fixed date if that's what the applicant wants to do.
Thank you. Mr. Otto?
I agree with Mr. Vervoort. Probably a fixed date would be fine, but it is up to the applicant.
Okay. Mr. Lewis?
I'll echo the same words as my colleagues.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, what do you want to do?
Through you, Mr. Chair, May the 1st or the first meeting in May would be plenty of time. We can get the EIS into the city by the 1st of April.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application to be adjourned until May the 5th, I believe. All those in favor, please raise your hands.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I think it's the 3rd of May. Is
The first hearing in May.
first hearing in May, yeah.
Yep. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. You're
Thank you,
adjourned
Mr.
until the first hearing in May. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Oh, May.
May. This is for, that was for applications 5, 6, and 7. Now, the final adjournment request is having to do with application number 8. Application number 8 has to do with 4163 Stonecrest Road. Mr. Scott Murray, are you available, sir? There, I see you there, sir. Good morning, Mr. Murray. I do hear you now.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I understand that our planning department would like to adjourn this application. Are you in favor of that, sir?
No. The stated reason, as I understand it, is not on the merits of the application or on the appropriateness of any aspect of the application. It has to do with an amendment that needs to be done by the city to the official plan, as I understand it. There's an error in that plan, and I know that this matter has been raised in previous applications. In fact, on the occasion of a first adjournment of these applications in January, it came up at that time, and I know that a couple of applications were objected to on the same basis, and I understand the committee proceeded to deal with the matter and grant the consents. Those two applications were on Klondike Road. So there's really, it's the same arguments in our discussion in this case, and I'd be asking the committee to proceed. This is now the third request that the planning department has made for for adjournment, and I think we're prepared to go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Teeth, on behalf of the city, would you like to comment?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We are objecting once again just on the rural severance policies. The applicant has otherwise addressed your concerns.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to ask the panel if they would like to hear this application and proceed with it today. All those in favor? We'll proceed with hearing your application, sir, in line with the rest of the applications.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now proceed to hear the first application. Application number 1 has to do with 1326 Johnston Road. Hans Fracke, are you available, sir? I see a Kristen Cole. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, who am I speaking with?
This is Hans Fracke. My wife is Kirsten Cole. We're using her device right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'd like to administer the oath concerning the sign posting on the property. Can you take that oath today?
Yes, I can.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I swear.
Thank you very much. Now, I note for the panel that planning does not have any concerns, nor do the Conservation Authority partners have any concerns. However, I'd like to ask them for their comments. Mr. Graham, on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we have no concerns with the application as presented.
Thank you very much. Our conservation partners, any comments? No comments. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the panel now for their comments. Mr. Lewis.
I support the application.
Thank you. Mr. Vervoort.
No comments and concerns. I agree with the minor variance, subject to the tied to the plans filed with the committee.
Thank you. Mr. Otto.
I'm in agreement with the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the panel now for approval of this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one thing before you go.
Sure.
When you introduced us, you said 1326 Johnston Road. It's actually Johnston Drive. I don't know if that makes a difference, but we've had pizza delivered to the wrong address before, so we just wanted to touch on.
Okay, 1326 Johnston Drive then.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
I believe we're now on to application number 8. Application number 8. Application number 8, sorry. No, application number 8 has to do with 4163 Stonecrest Road. Mr. Murray, are you available? There you are. Need to unmute yourself, sir.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, thank you.
I would like to administer the oath concerning the sign posting on your property. Can you take that oath today?
Yes, I can.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
Yes, I so swear.
Thank you very much. And we have a little bit of housekeeping to do, having to do with the public notice, having to do with file number B00346. The frontage should be 92.5 meters. Is that correct, Mr. Murray?
I believe that is correct, yes.
And the depth should be 102 meters.
And it's irregular, yes, but that is correct as well.
Okay, and the area should be 0.84 hectares.
That is correct.
Okay, all having to do with 4103 Stonecrest Road.
Right.
And for the file number B00347, frontage should be 103.5 meters. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And the depth should be 81 meters.
Again, yes, that's correct. And it's irregular depth.
And area 0.84
Correct.
hectares. And that's having to do with 4097 Stonecrest Road.
Yes.
So the retained lands have a frontage of 644 meters.
I believe that to be correct.
And the lot area would be 93.2 meters, hectares, excuse me.
That is correct.
Okay,
Property.
and this will be known as 4163 Stonecrest Road, this retained portion.
Right.
Okay. All right, so I understand that, so can you give us just a brief history of this application, or talk to us about the application today?
Yes, it's actually held by Mr. Lyle Dolan. It came to him through his family. They've owned the farmland for quite some number of years, going back many decades. The objective is to sever off two residential lots for sale, leaving all of the leaving all of the tillable farmland intact with the current holder, and without in any fashion impinging on the wetlands or the buffer in terms of the development area. The matter has been referred to the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, and their comments to date are that they are content that the matter proceed. I understand that on the merits of the matter, the city planning department finds no difficulty with it. All the size requirements and frontage requirements are being met. So I think that the consents are appropriately given.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask Mr. Teef on behalf of the city to make some comments. You're muted, sir. There you go.
Sorry about that. So through you, Mr. Chair, we only have concerns with the official plan policies with regard to the lots themselves. The applicant has addressed our concerns with the lots fragmenting wetlands. We do have some minor concerns, but they're addressed through the conditions.
Okay. Just I'll go back to Mr. Murray. You're aware of the 6 conditions that are on this application should it be approved today?
Yes, I am. And the one that I find troublesome is the requirement, or the request, I guess it's more appropriately termed, for the additional free land to the city for road widening over the entirety of Mr. Dolan's property, and including the retained parcel. And I note that on previous occasions where I've been before this committee, that matter has been raised, and the committee has seen fit to not require the road widening in regard to the retained portion or the parcel. And I would be asking you to repeat that approach this time around.
Okay. Mr. Teef, can you comment on city's legal opinion on the road widening? And are they still adamant that this has to be taken as a development, as it's deemed development?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I believe so. It's just for right-of-way protection for potential expansion of services, I believe. It's just a standard condition to be applied to all consent and all consent applications. So.
Okay, so in the past, we've been given notice that the city's legal department will proceed to appeal this to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Should we eliminate it from the conditions on this application. Are you aware of that?
I am, yeah.
Is that still the policy?
I believe so.
Okay. So, Mr. Murray, just so you know, if we do as you request, there may be a delay. Mr. Harrigan, I see that you'd like to.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the legal department is adamant that we will appeal any decision that does not have this road widening condition. It is 100% required across every single consent application across the entire city, regardless of how much frontage they have there. It's city infrastructure that's maintained around these properties, and any benefit to the property should also be in benefit to the city infrastructure in accordance with the Planning Act. And again, I would note that if the applicant would like to challenge this road widening condition, as is clearly specified in the Planning Act and the official plan, it should be the applicant's responsibility to appeal the condition to the OLT, not the city's.
Okay, so that would mean that we would continue to keep this condition on file, and then you can appeal if you don't like it, but it will delay the further development of your property, Mr. Murray.
Well, I know that comment came up on the last severance application that I dealt with over on Dwyer Hill Road, and the same comment was made by the planning department at that time. And my position then, and it's my position on this application, is that we're prepared to run the risk if the city wants to appeal it to the OMB, to the Land Appeal Tribunal. So it should not be up to us to do that. It's if the city wants it, the city can go after it.
Okay.
I mean, the city is getting a pretty good deal on this thing already. They're getting free land on the severed parcels. They're getting the parkland, or the payment in lieu of land for the park. It just seems to be one thing after another that we're being asked to give up for, no compensation, whatever. So I suggest that we leave it in the hands of the city.
Okay. All right. So, and I note that the conservation partners have no objections to this application. I'd now like to ask the panel for their comments and questions. Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, I support the application without the road condition widening, if that's the applicant's choice. Thank you.
Okay. I'll ask you to repeat that in a few minutes because you seem to be frozen a little bit. We didn't get it all. Mr. Revort, any comments?
Yeah.
I think the application can proceed even though the official plan still has to be amended. It'll give the applicant time to start clearing his conditions before the official plan is corrected. With respect to the road widening, I think the committee's been fairly consistent in imposing it because it is required by the official plan. And I think in this case, the road widening should be imposed as requested, and the applicant could then challenge it if they disagree with it.
Thank you, Mr. Revort. Mr. Otto?
I agree with Mr. Revort to some extent, but if the applicant doesn't want it stricken, I would strike that part. I have had conversations with some other people that lead me to believe that the city is actually in the process of reviewing this policy again. So either way, I'm in favor of the application to proceed.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Lewis, could you repeat what you were saying?
Yes. Sorry, I support the application without the road widening.
Okay.
And just if I go out again, maybe I won't come back. You guys have quorum. Like, don't wait a long time on me. Carry on the meeting, okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. My comment is that it is a requirement of the official plan and the provincial policy statement and the city to have this road widening in place, and that if it's something that the applicant would like to appeal, he can appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal to have it removed. So that's my feeling on the road widening. As far as proceeding with this application, I'm in favor of this application without the road widening, with the road widening, obviously, because this is the same as we've dealt with on several occasions where it's an issue with the official plan not having the correct wording. So now I would like to ask the panel for approval of this application. First of all, we'll take a look at it with the road widening condition in place. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your applicant, all those against? Without the.
I'm in favor without the road widening.
Yes, so I'll leave that. So we'll put you down as in favor without the road widening. There are 3 panel members that are in favor with the road widening. So your application therefore, Mr. Murray, is approved with all 6 conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're going on to our final application, application number 9. This has to do with 390 John Shaw Road. Mr. Mayo, are you available? You're muted, sir. There you are. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Mayo.
Oh, yes, we're at 3901
Yes.
John Shaw Road.
John Shaw Road, correct. Yep.
So I can now join as a panelist.
Yep, you're in. So, sir, I'd like to administer an oath concerning the sign posting on your property. Can you take that oath today? You're muted, sir. You're still muted. Madam Coordinator, can you put on the screen the sequence of events?
That's my folk singing promo picture.
Good stuff. Looks good. Should be on an album cover.
It's also quite a few years old.
Can you take the oath concerning the sign posting today?
Yeah, well, yes, we had that problem last time. We had to adjourn it because the sign blew down. And we got the new sign on, picked it up from the Committee of Adjustment office on February 28th. So
you're good.
Yesterday, we just completed the statutory period. Alyssa Barr, who's here with me.
Hello.
Good morning.
She signed the stat declaration this morning, which was the first day she could. And I emailed it over this morning.
Well, in the absence of having that document, I'd like to administer an oath concerning the sign posting. Okay.
I couldn't hear you.
That's okay. I'd like to administer an oath concerning the sign posting on your property. So we don't have that paperwork right now. So can you take that oath today?
Yes, I can.
Great. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing, as instructed, and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I swear.
Thank you. Now, I note for the panel that planning has minor concerns with the application and has 6 conditions. Are you aware of those 6 conditions, Mr. Mayo?
Yes, and I'd like to have a chance to speak to them.
Sure, please go ahead.
Okay. As far as the building on the retained parcel, which is about approximately 97 acres, that is not a livestock building, never was a livestock building. So none of the rules about minimum distance separation and so on apply. It's a shed, storage shed of sorts. And Mr. Dave Barr, who's the uncle of Alyssa Barr, we filed an affidavit from him attesting to that fact. The planner, I don't know, he was looking from a satellite photo or something, suspected it was a livestock barn. It's not. And so I hope we've cleared up anything on that point. Then we get to the, and I know you just had a discussion about road widening. And I see the planners want a road widening agreement, and then corollary to that would be an encroachment agreement if the road widening creates an encroachment. And I've heard what the members have said about official plan, but I would ask this committee to exercise some discretion and eliminate the road widening condition. And let me say why. You know, there's no air of reality here. There's no common sense. There's no scenario under which that John Shaw Road would be widened. It's a backcountry road. It goes nowhere from nowhere. It's a very low traffic volume road. It's not even paved for a big stretch of it. It starts out in Marathon Village, which has, you know, population of about 12 houses. And it goes up to Goleta Side Road, doesn't go through. There's very little action on this road. I mean, it's not like Carp Road, which is traffic hell. That can't even be widened at the moment. So, you know, there's no official plan designation for some kind of major arterial road here. The planning department didn't come forward with evidence to show that it's a high traffic road slated for some kind of arterial status. So it's just a blind application of this official plan policy that if you get a severance, there has to be a road widening condition. But it makes, you know, we have to exercise some common sense here. Why put this burden of entering into an agreement and the legal costs and so on, and registering it on title, put the burden on the applicant for this extra cost, put the extra burden on the planning department to have to process these road widening agreements and encroachment agreements. So I can't see any scenario under which a road widening agreement would ever be necessary for John Shaw Road. And I would ask the committee to consider that. The other condition that they put in is a zoning bylaw amendment. So they want my client to apply for a zoning bylaw amendment to prohibit residential development on the retained land, which is approximately 97 acres. The bulk of it, which is arable land. There's a rocky outcropping that takes up several acres. You have the affidavit of David Barr, who says he's going to continue to farm it. His brother died, unfortunately, and Alyssa, the deceased Sterling Barr's only daughter, only offspring, doesn't wish to continue farming, but fortunately there's someone in the family that does, and that is Dave Barr. He farms further up John Shaw Road, and he's happy to use his niece's property to expand his farming. So it's all good. But why a zoning bylaw amendment to prohibit residential development on this 97-acre retained parcel? It makes no sense. It's already protected. It's got an official plan designation as agricultural resource. It's got a zoning for agriculture. I can see no useful purpose here for a zoning bylaw amendment on top of the official plan, on top of the zoning bylaw. If someone in the future ever wanted to do a residential development, subdivision, estate lot, rural subdivision, or something like that on this property, they would have to overcome the official plan and the existing zoning bylaw. So this seems to me another unnecessary burden, paperwork, hearings, application fees, legal fees for no useful purpose. So, you know, this area is, we've got this new official plan that's trying to keep all the development intensification in the city inside the urban boundary. This is Fitzroy, what used to be Fitzroy Township. It's way out. It's nowhere near, you know, the developing areas like Canada North or Stittsville. Like, there's a complete air of unreality of asking for a zoning bylaw to prohibit development on this farmland. Like, it's incomprehensible to me that such a condition would be imposed upon this applicant. The other thing is that the shed, the so-called livestock shed, which isn't a livestock shed, they want us to prove that it's zoning compliant. Now, surely, if the planning department feels that it's out of zoning compliance, they should know. They should be complaining that it's out of compliance. Instead of, they got this reverse onus on Alyssa Barr to prove that it's compliant. It makes no sense. So finally, I would say, if the road widening condition is waived, the encroachment agreement that would follow from it also would fall. It wouldn't be necessary. Oh, I'd like to point out one small fact to the planner here. They talked about the marine clay showing up on the soil maps, soil survey from Geological Survey of Canada. The link they provided for the guidelines for that, the link is broken. The link doesn't work. Those are my submissions. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Mayo. Now I'd like to ask Mr. Teeth on behalf of the city to make some comments and respond to Mr. Mayo's comments.
All right, so through you, Mr. Chair, regarding the road widening. So I just want to point out that the road is actually identified as a collector road, so it only requires a 26-meter right of way, not an arterial road. And we've also attached, as part of that condition, because we did identify that the house is actually within that. So this required widening could actually be waived or reduced in this case because of that.
What would be reduced to?
I believe just outside of that house.
Do we have to put a number there?
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, through you, there's policies within the official plan that allow for that review to be undertaken by the Director of the Transportation Planning. So from that, they would review the survey and exactly how much the house would be in there, and then they can modify it. So instead of taking the full 13 meters, if 11 meters was satisfactory, they could then do that and provide written confirmation that the road widening had still been taken in accordance with this condition. So just a little caveat in the condition that allows for the Director of Transportation Planning to modify it if it adheres to the official plan policy. So I don't believe it would require any modifications or written number changes to the actual condition. It's just, there is a caveat there that does allow the Transportation Director to look at slight modifications to what's required.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Teef.
Thank you, Sean. Regarding the rest of the application, I don't believe we had any other real concerns. Our concerns over the storage shed are more or less satisfied. We would just require some photographic evidence showing that it isn't being used as a livestock barn. Other than that, I believe we'd be satisfied there.
Okay. Any other further comments?
I believe that's about it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Otto, I'd like to go to a panel now and see what the panel has to say about this application. Mr. Otto?
Well, I guess if we go by the client, we should strike the road widening. But I'm in favor of the agreement, and I think as before, we have to leave the road widening in and let the client appeal it to the OMB or the whatever the other name is right now. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, I support the application. I think Mr. Mayo would be happy and finds all these conditions a nuisance. However, I got to have some. I will support the application, but I would be happy to be consistent to take the road widening out.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Otto. Sorry, Mr. Vervoort.
Just a couple of questions for Mr. Teeft, and I think he's got his hand raised too. I don't know if you want to make your comment first, Mr. Teeft.
Sorry, yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out the zoning bylaw amendment. So that's just a standard condition required for our surplus farm dwelling severances, which is just another guarantee that no residential uses would be on that land, as it is deemed for farming purposes only.
Thank you.
And I just had a couple of questions for Mr. Teeft on the conditions. So the first condition, the quality and quantity of groundwater, that would be applied to the severed lands, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the agreement on title warning of potential sensitive marine clays and organic soils, I'm not sure why that's needed or where that would be applied to.
So that specifically would be for any potential redevelopment on the severed lands.
On the retained or the severed lands?
Sorry, on the severed lands.
On the severed lands?
Yes.
Okay, so that could be done in the same agreement, I guess, number 1 and 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. With respect to condition number 3, rezoning the retained lands, I agree. I mean, that's something that's required by the official plan, and we do consistently to prohibit further development on the retained agricultural lands. With respect to number 4, I think you had indicated that if the applicant provides photographic evidence that the building is not used for livestock facilities, then that condition would be satisfied. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, so I think we should amend that condition to just provide that, because I think that's pretty easy for Mr. Mayo and his client to fulfill. 5 and 6, the committee's been pretty consistent on the road widening, so I'd be in favor of imposing those conditions. So subject to the comments I just had, I'd be in favor of the application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vervoort. My comments, same as Mr. Vervoort's, however, subject to, however, condition number 5 will be limited to, or in addition to, will add subject to review by Director of Transportation and Planning. That would be the distances required for the right of way. So to that end, I'd like to ask.
Mr. Chair, I just one quick question brought up by Mr. Vervoort. I thought if we're rezoning the severed land, the consent land, to no building, why do we even need to put a water or soils condition on that? If there's no building allowed, why are we guaranteeing the water or the marine clay soils? Can that not be eliminated?
Mr. Teeft?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the rezoning would be for the retained land, not for the severed land.
But Mr. Lewis, what Mr. Teeft was saying was those conditions should be imposed on the severed property, on the farmhouse.
They're going where the buildings already are.
Yeah,
correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application with all 6 applications with the following amendments. Amendment to condition number 2, that the marine clay is to be recognized on the severed land only. That on condition number 4 is to be amended, that the applicant is to provide photo evidence that the shed or barn is not being used for livestock. Application number 5, that the road widening, the distance required will be subject to review by the Director of Transportation and Planning. All other conditions remain the same. All those in favor of this application as amended, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, Mr. Mayo. Thank you very much. I think that ends our work for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for your help. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.